Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday and I'm back for a Friday Reads. I have read a few books this week and I will get onto them in a minute, but before I do that, I have a couple of announcements and I thought I would do them first. The very first one is that starting this weekend, Tara from Tara Bite. Tara and I are doing a buddy read this weekend. We have picked Elsie Tyler's The Herring Seller's Apprentice. It's a first in a relatively light, I believe, hearted mystery series featuring Elsie and Ethelred. And I am going to be tweeting about this as I read it using hashtag Elsie and Ethelred. So if you want to join in the buddy read, please do. Announcement number 2 is that November is round 2 for Denise Harwood's A to Z readathon. That's where we try and collect the letters of the alphabet from the names of the books and stuff that we read. I did this the first time around in the easiest possible way. That is, I used all of the letters of the author and all of the letters of the titles, and I managed to complete the alphabet in the month. This time around I think I'm going to go up to difficulty 2, which is either using the author names or the title names. I'll have to watch her announcement video and find that out. I will link in the description to her announcement video if that's something that you feel like you might want to join into. Feel free. The third announcement that I've got isn't really anything about me. It's just something that I heard during the week that I was super excited about. Matt Ruff's Lovecraft Country, which was one of my favourite reads from last year, I think. It was never actually published in Australia. I have the book in hardcover as an import, which cost the earth, but it was still a good decision. He has now got a British publishing deal, which is super fantastic because Australia, as part of the Commonwealth, is kind of slaved to the UK publishing industry. So given that there's now going to be a UK release, I am actually finally going to be able to get it as an ebook, which is super exciting. Part of the reason that he's got this deal is that the book has been picked up and there is a TV series being made of Lovecraft Country. My understanding is it's actually currently in production, which is very exciting because this is a great book, and if you haven't given it a look, you really should do yourself a favour and do that. Okay, the last announcement is the biggest one, and that is I have decided that I'm going to have another run at NaNoWriMo this year in November. I did it a few years ago and I won. That is, I finished my 50,000 words. I'm actually going to have a slightly different focus this year. I'm going to work on the word count, but I'm going to be thinking about it less as finishing the words and more as getting a first draft of a story out the whole way through. So I'm going to attempt to get from the beginning to the end of a story in November. That's my goal anyway. So now my life is pretty full, and so in order to actually make this a working proposition, I'm going to have to remove things from my life in order to make room for the NaNoWriMo writing. And what I've decided is that for the month of November, I'm not going to be doing any booktube videos. And I'm also going to be staying off social media. I don't think I have a problem with social media, except that it takes up a lot of my time. I find myself spending a couple of hours a day just cycling through the Twitter feed and whatever. And if I'm going to fit more productive work into my day, I'm going to have to remove something, and this is the most obvious thing that I have to remove. So if for some reason during November you need to get in touch with me, please feel free to actually email me directly. I'll put my email address in the description. And I will see you back in December and you'll find out how I did in the A to Z readathon, in NaNoWriMo, in life generally. But anyway, I finish Strange Days by Mark Sayers. That's the book that I was reading when I was filming last week. This is a Christian thought book. About the first half of it is spent looking at the current situation of the world in the West, and he has some really interesting things to say, I think, deconstructing what's going on culturally in the West at the moment. The second half of the book is kind of like well, that was the problem, now here's the solution. And I have to say I was less impressed with that. Most of what he had to say didn't seem like anything especially new, which is not to say I disagree with him. It's just it didn't give me any kind of particularly exciting new insights. So the next book that I finished was Provenance by Ann Leckie. This is a really, really fun science fiction read. It's set in the same world as the Imperial Radch trilogy. That's Ancillary, Sword, and all the Ancillary books that won all of the prizes a couple of years ago. What's really fun is that this is not set within the Radch world. There is a Radch character who appears halfway through or so, who's a minor character, and everybody acts like they're a bit of a dick. And that's really fun, because seeing this culture that we spent 3 books kind of delving into previously, now seeing them like just in passing and an external view of them is really fun. So the main characters in these are humans, but it's about the interaction between the humans and the alien races, and politics, human politics. It's a really enjoyable self-contained story. I'm not sure if Ann Leckie is planning on more with these characters, but just as a standalone science fiction read, it's very, very enjoyable. The next thing that I finished was The Final Solution by Michael Chabon. You may recognise his name. He's written a number of really well-known books. He's kind of lit fic, but a lot of his books have a speculative fiction twist. This one does not in any way. It is a Sherlock Holmes in his sort of the twilight of his life story, although he's never named as Sherlock Holmes. It's very obvious the character that he's writing is Sherlock Holmes. So it's sort of the final solution of the title has a double meaning. It's like the last case, Sherlock's last case, and throughout the story, and it's relatively short, I think it's about 100 pages, throughout it there are moments when his brain sort of freezes and he panics, because like as the clouds come in, he realizes that his intellect is kind of betraying him. Old age is catching up with him, and there's kind of a real melancholy about that. But so it's a final solution in that it's his final kind of case that he's solving, and it also hooks into the whole Third Reich final solution, because the mystery that he's solving is there's this Jewish like a 10-year-old boy orphan in England with a pet parrot. And the parrot, amongst other things that it does, recites lists of German numbers. And all sorts of different forces are arrayed who have heard the parrot and think that the parrot is going to give them something. And anyway, there's some sort of attack, and a man is killed and the parrot goes missing. But Sherlock's not actually interested in solving the murder. He just wants to find this boy's parrot. It's a really, really beautifully written work, and I'd encourage you to have a look at that. I read 2 more things that I'm going to just talk about really quickly. All Good Things by Emma Newman, which is the conclusion of the Split Worlds series. I really, really, really enjoyed book 4. Book 5, which is the conclusion, maybe didn't live up quite to the promise of book 4, but it was still a jolly good read. I really enjoy Emma Newman's sort of sensibility, and I can't say anything much at all really about the plot that goes on in book 5. If you're interested at all in a completed fantasy series, then you could do a lot worse than picking up the Split World series. And the book that I just finished is called Sourdough by Sloan. Sloan previously wrote Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour book bookshop. I know a lot of people have read that one. I really enjoyed that when it came out. And so when my library got Sourdough, I was like, yes, I'm going to read that. And it's not properly spec fic, but it has a just nearly spec fic vibe to it. It is about technology, it is about food, it is about the search for the good life, and I really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore, I strongly suggest you pick up Sourdough. So that is what I've read this week. Looking forwards, I am of course going to be reading The Herring Seller's Apprentice starting this weekend with Tara. I'm really looking forward to that. The other book that I have currently waiting for me to read, I picked up from the library this week, is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which is a contemporary YA, which is not usually my thing, but I've heard such a compelling recommendation that I'm going to pick that one up and see what I think. That's it. That is what I've read. I'm love to hear what you guys think. If you've read any of these books that I've talked about, I'd love to hear if you are going to be joining in with the A to Z Readathon. Anybody who wants to join in our Elsie and Ethelred buddy read, I'd love to hear from you. And if anybody else is doing NaNoWriMo, I'd also love to hear about that. I hope you're all well, and I will talk to you in December. Bye!